Gina, am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, Gina.
Yes, sir. Shall we
Yeah,
start?
you can take over.
With utmost respect to all of you present here, good evening and welcome you all to the 58th talk of Inter-Society weekly webinar series jointly organized by IEEE Kerala section, the Institution of Engineers India Kerala State Center, Indian Society Trivandrum Chapter, Computer Society of India Trivandrum Chapter, Project Management Institute Kerala Chapter, Vakamaulavi Foundation Trust Trivandrum, IEEE Engineering in Medicine and Biology Society Kerala Chapter, IEEE Life Member Affinity Group Kerala Chapter. Academia is experiencing massive reforms globally amid lockdown in COVID-19 outbreak. Institutions have switched their teaching learning activities on e-learning mode. Virtual meetings have become the order of the day now. Today's talk considers the effect of pandemic on the professional activities, including academic activities. Today, on our 58th talk, we have Professor K.C. Ravindranathan, Sir, retired principal of College of Engineering, Trivandrum, sharing his insights on the impact of pandemic on professional activities. Before we begin, I would like to kindly bring your attention to the feedback form that will be provided during the session. Kindly fill the form and let us know your opinion. Also, please don't hesitate to mention if there is any requirement for the certificate of attendance. Moving on to the formal session, I invite Ms. Aishwarya, IEEE volunteer, to welcome the virtual gathering. Ma'am, please.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
are.
The harder you work for something, the greater you'll feel when you achieve it. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. With utmost pleasure, I welcome you all to the 58th talk of the Inter-Society weekly webinar series. Today, we have with us Professor K.C. Ravindranathan, Sir, PhD and retired principal of College of Engineering, Trivandrum, to give a keynote address on impact of the pandemic on professional activities, a peek by an academician. Welcome, sir. And I would also like to welcome MC for the day, Ajina from EMBS, and our Zoom masters, Gogul and Adla from IEEE. Last but not the least, I want to welcome all of the attendees who are eagerly waiting for the session to begin. I warmly welcome you all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I humbly welcome Dr. M.J. Jayashree, Student Activities Chair of EMBS Kerala Chapter and IQAC Coordinator of MBCET Trivandrum, to introduce our esteemed speaker. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Gina. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce Professor Dr. K.C. Ravindranathan, who was my teacher come mentor during my MTech at CET. Today's distinguished speaker, Professor Dr. K.C. Ravindranathan, obtained his BSc Engineering in Electronics and Communication Engineering from the University of Kerala in 1984, ME in Electrical and Communication Engineering from Indian Institute of Science in 1993, Bangalore, and then PhD in Computer Science and Engineering in 2011. He worked at Bharat Electronics Limited, Bell, Bangalore till June 1988 in the Broadcast Transmitters R&D Group. He joined the College of Engineering, Thiruvananthapuram in 1988 as lecturer, promoted as assistant professor in 1994 and professor in 2001. He was on deputation to the Center for Development of Imaging Technology, CDIT, Thiruvananthapuram during 1989-1990. Professor Ravindranathan has more than 31 years of teaching experience in various reputed government engineering colleges in the state of Kerala. So he was working as principal at Government Engineering College, Kannur from September 2011 to June 2013, and thereafter at LBS Institute of Technology for Women, Thiruvananthapuram, till June 2016. He also worked as professor, Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, and Dean Research and PG Studies, and in full additional charge of principal at College of Engineering, Thiruvananthapuram. He has 30 publications to his credit, including 5 textbooks. His book on analog communication system, Principles and Practices, had been selected as a textbook on the same subject at the University of Kerala. So he had coordinated an AICTE funded project in the department for the modernization of microprocessor lab incorporating VLSI and embedded systems. His interest includes digital signal processing, wireless communication, fuzzy systems, next generation computing, and simulation techniques. He is a reviewer of Elsevier Journal on Communications, is a life member of ISTE and IRSS, life fellow of IET and IE India, then chartered engineer of Institute of Engineers India, and senior member of IEEE and CSI. He acted as a student activities chair of IEEE Kerala section during 1998-1999. He is also a life member of the Science Advisory Board. He is a research guide at the University of Kerala. He volunteered as the founder chair of Signal Processing Society in IEEE Kerala section from 2014 to 2016. So after retirement from government service in March 2018, he was with Rajdhani Institute of Engineering and Technology, Attingal, working as professor and principal till November 2020. So on behalf of the organizing team of this Inter-Society weekly webinar series, I once again welcome you, sir, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Jayashree, for the pleasant introduction. So shall we start?
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir. Over to you.
So, warm good evening to all. First of all, let me thank Sri Harindra Lal and his team for inviting me to present before such an august audience. It has been a pleasure to associate with Institute of Engineers and Institute of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineers for so many years. And today I will be talking on the effect of the pandemic on the academic and professional activities of engineers and scientists. Let us start the session. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It is visible.
So the topic of today's presentation is the impact of the pandemic on professional activities, mainly educational and other professional activities. So let us get into the presentation right away. As an introduction, I should say that the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, the generalized have affected people from all walks of life. And students and teachers are one of the communities which are affected by the pandemic the most. The talk is intended to look at the impact on the academic activity mainly. However, we will also try to discuss the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic on related fields as well. To begin with, we will look at the status of affairs of the academia before the pandemic really skews the academic community just before the lockdown version 1, say before March 2020. The status of affairs before the lockdown, as you all know, almost all classes were held offline in the face-to-face mode. All meetings were conducted face-to-face mode. Only under special, unavoidable circumstances, online virtual meetings were held. The COVID-19, how it slowly gripped the entire millennium. The Chinese flu of the COVID-19 was first detected in Wuhan, in People's Republic of China, in the early and late 2019, and hence the name COVID-19, which was adopted and popularized by the World Health Organization. So we have two interesting, one interesting site which gives the details of the corona on the SARS-CoV-2 virus, and the generic term used to describe the virus was that. And so there were several sites and videos available in the YouTube, which tries to model the spread of the coronavirus. One of them is by an epidemiologist, a doctor, Epidemics and End of Humankind by Rosalind Ego. This was a quite interesting video, appeared as a TEDx talk by Rosalind Ego few months back. Another one is Preventing the Worldwide Epidemics by Ronald K. John. He's a medical practitioner and professor. It's again a TEDx Cincinnati talk, and it is available in the YouTube. And the third one is kind of a site which gives a close look into the spread of the virus, coronavirus. And I can show you a few slides based on data from this site. This data is somewhat old. Every day they update the total coronavirus cases around the globe, and the number of deaths and the number of people who have recovered from the disease. Now let us have a closer look. We are now living in a world where everything and almost everything is done virtually. Also note that the entire human generation have learned to do everything and everything virtually. And thus we are attending classes, regular lectures like this virtually, and even taking examinations virtually. It is now well known that we have to live with the coronavirus for some more time. There are times when the new normal have become the normal. It is more wise to adapt ourselves to the changed situations. So these are the research updates on the COVID-19 SARS-CoV virus. These are the research updates. It says that during the first wave of the pandemic, Manaus, a city in Brazil, experienced one of the world's highest infection rates. An estimated 2/3 of the residents were infected by October 2020. Leading some researchers to predict that population-wide immunity might cause new infections to tail off. Brazil has experienced high mortality during the COVID-19 pandemic, more than 250,000 deaths and more than 10 million reported cases. The second wave of infection has shown to spread of SARS-CoV to lineage P.1. COVID-19 simulation and modeling is an interesting topic, and there are several references or pointers to that. One is the COVID-19 outbreak detection tool developed by Massachusetts General Hospital, Harvard Medical School, and Georgia Tech, US, as well as the Boston Medical School. This is available from the site covid19sim.org. And the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, they have also released a simulation study tool with the pointer given in the presentation. Then Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur and Hyderabad also have produced successful models to model the pandemic, spread of the pandemic. The statistics on virtual classrooms we will now look up. It is expected that the predominant use of virtual classrooms will decrease by a whopping 16.2% compound annual growth rate by 2023. Virtual classrooms and distant learning as alternative technology-driven learning methods have been growing at a reasonable pace. Virtual classrooms have been specifically in use by all sectors, including primary and higher education, as well as corporate learning. Nevertheless, virtual classrooms have not yet been considered as a serious alternative or substitute for the contemporary face-to-face meeting, face-to-face learning. Then this slide shows the benefits, some of the benefits, projected benefits of video conferencing. First one is it reduces travel needed to attend conferences drastically. It accounts about 46% of the total cost. Then it saves time, and which is about 33%. Then it reduces the overall cost is 27%, and improved collaboration because the material can be shared at will any time later. Then improved work and life balance in person, and recording and archiving is possible so that the proceedings of the meeting can be reviewed later. The impact of the virtual conferences on businesses, mainly there were studies, detailed studies by the McKinsey Accelerate, and one of the quotable quotes is managers can push the pause button on capability building so the moment belongs to virtual learning. Yes, so said Alok Shirsagar in a McKinsey Accelerate report. Based on observations of early March, roughly one half of the in-person programs through June 30, 2020 have been postponed or cancelled in North America. In parts of Asia and Europe, the figure is closer to 10%. These are some of the most prominent and predominant virtual platforms which are deployed globally: the Google Meet, the Zoom, the AirMeet, Microsoft Teams, Brella, Google Classroom, GoToWebinar, Soho Meetings, Skype, Cisco WebEx, vConsole, Exit Meetings. Actually, the vConsole is a recent entrant which was produced by a new startup in Kochi. This slide shows the percentage of traffic handled by these tools. You can see that the major one in this game is Zoom, which occupies about 40%, followed by WebEx, which is 12%, and others jointly at 16%, and so on and so forth. The total global markets for video conferencing is shown in this slide. Again, Cisco is a major player with 33% market share, in Poly with 21%, Huawei 15%, and others contributes to 31%. Video conferencing marketing trends include, in today's business world, the demand for video communications has been booming. As video and web conferencing platforms gaining properly, the analysis showed that global video conferencing market size is estimated to reach $6.4 billion by the year 2020. And by 2024, the video conferencing software market size is projected to expand further to $20 billion. This is a point to be noted. The boom in market for meeting applications is illustrated in this slide. Number of meetings, business interactions held virtually. So it is interesting that the rate of proliferation of virtual meetings are also increasing due to the spread of the pandemic. The top technologies now we have is Zoom, GoToWebinar, Cisco WebEx, On24, Adobe Connect, Tandberg video conferencing, GoToMeeting, ClickMeeting, and so on. Here again, we can see that Zoom is a major player, which occupies the #1 position in almost all these studies. If you compare various virtual meeting apps, we can see that the price, the quality of video, the connection, integration, meeting size, and end-to-end encryption for each and every video conferencing software, from Zoom to WebEx to GoToWebinar to Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, and Adobe Connect. So some of them are more secure. For example, WebEx and GoToWebinar compared to Zoom. But Zoom is a very popular platform. Even this webinar is rendered using Zoom, as you all know. The market analysis shows that the market share of top 3 players with conferencing market are Zoom, which is occupying 32%, GoToWebinar 22%, and Cisco WebEx 17%. It's, the source for this data is a marketing firm, Data Analyze. Last year, Zoom was positioned as a market leader in Gartner's Magic Quadrant for meeting solutions, along with Cisco, Microsoft, LogMeIn for the 3rd time. User statistics in global levels. The 5 best video conferencing applications by the year 2021 is Zoom, which is best in performance, Skype, best free video conferencing tool app, then Google Meet, best in integration, Microsoft Teams, best in video conferencing bundle, and Soho Meeting most accessible. It should be noted that almost all the virtual classrooms were done using Google Meet, so it is very popular among academicians, students, and teachers alike. The top 10 best video conferencing applications also include, this is a rerun of the previous slide, Zoom, Skype for Business, Slack, Big Blue Button, Blue Jeans, Whereby, GoToMeeting, Cisco WebEx, Google Meet, and Blackboard Collaborate. These slides look into the video conferencing market during 2019 to 2030. So it projects the market by region, 2029, North America, Europe, Asia Pacific, Middle East, and Africa, and Latin America. And if you have a study based on the end user industry, healthcare, corporate enterprise, government and defense, others, and education, they are the segments which uses video conferencing applications mainly. And the key market findings are software developers capitalize on mobile friendliness by offering to maximize image quality. Then cloud-based solutions grow popular as cost-effective options for startups. So a 9%, approximately 9% cumulative average growth rate, annual growth rate is projected for the years between 2019 and 2030. And market value is by 2030 is more than $16 billion US. But there are some issues with the online learning through virtual classrooms. Everyone knows that it is a daunting task to sustain the interest of the attendees. Now that study shows that the attention span of people is limited to 15 to 20 minutes maximum. So that it's very difficult to maintain the decorum and the interest of the attendees in a virtual meeting. The attention span of attendees is usually limited to 10 to 20 minutes, as I said earlier. And sometimes the teacher himself or herself may face the issue of fatigue and lose interest in the discussions. attendees, even though virtually present, are not really attentive or interested in the deliberations. That is another disadvantage. And sometimes it's very difficult to find out this point. The distractions from background may spoil the tedium of the classroom. Also, the loss of connectivity and inadequate bandwidth may interrupt the two-way communication, especially in a classroom, so that the academician or the teacher will find it very difficult to continue with the process deliberations. There is not adequate mechanism to check whether the students are actually participating in the discussion. Also, periodic feedback on effective classroom management is quite difficult using virtual means. Needless to add that whenever online content or studies are imparted to the participants through virtual meetings, it's very difficult to evaluate the level of comprehension by each and every attendee. This is one of the major challenges faced by the academia, especially the instructors who venture to take virtual classes. And it is possible to share online content simultaneously from multiple sources, one of the advantages. And the bandwidth of internet connectivity plays a crucial role in streamlining the content delivery. And there is seamless connectivity, which is very important for the successful deployment of online content. Now we will have a close look into the Google Meet and Zoom. Google Meet is used to supplant offline face-to-face meeting with the students. Often this is ineffective, total failures during some instances. With Google Meet, it's not possible to control the behavior of attendees. Unless they are very attentive and gentle, it is quite often difficult to manage the deliberations. Google Meet expects all participants to use online media in a democratic fashion. If a particular participant has to share the content, other party who is already sharing his content has to keep sharing. With Zoom, the host has special privileges to control the crowd. So if some attendees are not leading to the directions, they can be kept in waiting rooms and so on. Before November 30, 2020, the hosts in Google Meet had the right to record the entire proceedings. Now only the premium version, Google Enterprise Edition, provide that feature. People who own Google Workspace plans will not have this feature. And trends in global meetings and workspace, it is now pointed out that the most multinationals now prefer the online mode of working due to the obvious savings in operational costs. The trend of online virtual meetings will continue for quite some time due to the savings. It is found that even at the time of the pandemic, some of the multinational companies, especially those working in software, IT companies, they posted a reasonable profit for the year 2020 and first quarter of 2021. The demerits of virtual sessions include virtual sessions are totally inadequate to meet the requirements of practical sessions. Conduct of labs is severed mostly, and execution of projects. The effective measure is available. No effective measure is available till date to check the active participation of students while this virtual session is going on. It is found that there are specific software applications to use to check the performance or the level of comprehension of each attendees after the virtual content is delivered to Google Meet or Zoom. And some of them are very popular with people who are in the academia. No effective measure is available till date to check the active participation of students while the virtual session is going on. This we have already mentioned. Then virtual classes fail miserably if administered for more than 20 to 30 minutes at a stretch. So let us now look into the activities against the COVID-19 pandemic. Several institutions in India and abroad are furthering activities to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. We'll also now discuss some of them. It is found that there are two aspects to this COVID-19 related research. One is to reduce the spread of the virus by proper modeling and deployment of actions like lockdown, quarantining, etc. And the other activity is mainly to develop paramedical devices to assist the treatment of COVID-19 patients and so on. We will now discuss some of them. For example, at the Indian Institute of Science, the following research is going on for the past 1.5 years. Diagnostics and surveillance of COVID-19 pandemic and the development of ways and means to curtail the pandemic. Then hospital assisted devices, mainly ventilators, oxygen concentrators, and so on. Then sanitation and disinfection, modeling, simulation, analysis of the spread of the pandemic, and vaccine development. In fact, the DRDO has recently released an antidote to the virus, which is called DG2. And this is found to be very useful in fighting the spread of the pandemic. And several good results are shown that after the deployment or administration of the drug, people who are actually COVID positive have become COVID negative in a reasonable time. Then at the IAC, diagnostic and surveillance related activities are happening with the following objectives. One is proteogenomic analysis of the virus, SARS-CoV-2, then COVID-19 optimal design of zero survey, which designs a mathematical tool for modeling the pandemic. Then they also developed a RT-PCR kit, which is low cost. Then rapid identification of COVID-19 biomarkers using Raman spectroscopy and artificial intelligence. Rapid point-of-care tests for mass surveillance at public transit systems. And Coursera, which is a speech and sound-based diagnostics tool, developed at the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, India. Then, under the activities which can be clubbed under hospital-assisted devices, the following products, the prototype of the following products were developed successfully and released to the public. One is a medical oxygen generator and open source aerosol shield and sub rupees 50,000 ventilator, a low cost ventilator, oxygen concentrator, and there is also called a Project Prana, which is a novel low cost ventilator design. And one of the important activities of the public and healthcare people is to maintain the sanitation and disinfection levels under control. So they are also working on antimicrobial surface coatings with the nanofibers, plasma sterilization and disinfection, verucidal composite fabric for PPE, and N19 mask renewal and testing, UV-based disinfecting device, and drones for disinfection, which is normally deployed at airports and so on, so that the spread of the pandemic can be kept at control. The modeling and simulation analysis of the spread of the pandemic is done through the following: aerosol generation and potential COVID-19 pandemic. Several groups of people are working in IITs and the Institute of Science, Bangalore, on the COVID-19 related research. Then role of respiratory droplets, drying dynamics and transmission routes, cohorting to isolate symptoms for asymptomatic spreaders. This is an important aspect. Some people who have actually infected the virus may not show any serious symptoms, so they are called asymptomatic spreaders. So an agent-based simulation study was done on them. Then partial differential equation-based modeling of COVID-19 infections was another work which was going on there. Then strategies for rapid suppression of COVID-19 transmission. Then COVID-19 infection rate estimation. Framework for studying testing strategies for COVID-19 was another work. COVID-19 automatic phase analysis. Now it is known that we are facing the second wave of the pandemic, spread of the pandemic. And if things are not kept under control, there is a chance for a third wave, which health authorities and the government fears to be very unwarranted. Then vaccine development is based on recombinant subunit vaccine for SARS-CoV-2. And the goal is to develop rapidly producible vaccine for the protection to frontline health workers, senior citizens, and individuals with comorbidities such as cardiovascular diseases and diabetes. See, in India, the vaccination is going on for quite 1.5 to 2 months. But even today's statistics shows that only a very few percentage of the entire population has been administered with the 2 doses of the COVAX vaccines. So we have to ramp up by all means the ways and means to increase the vaccination against COVID. Then there are also developments, interesting developments like the Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO. They developed 3 mechanical ventilator models. One is called Prana, second one is called SOSTA, and the third one is called WOW. Prana stands for a programmable respiratory assistant for needy aid. Then SOSTA is an abbreviation for Space Ventilator Aided Systems for Trauma Assistance. And WOW is a Ventilation Assist Unit. And they have also successfully developed and released a portable oxygen concentrator. It is called SWAS. All these products are very low cost. So that is the end of the presentation. Now we can go for the question answer. Before that, I will show you one of the videos I have. It's a very short video. It will take only 2 minutes on a product called Trichocan, which the developers claim that can reduce the spread of the virus and can kill the virus drastically. Let us go through that. It's a very short video. So that is one.
A year we did not expect. A new normal we could never predict. The coronavirus hit businesses globally. More livelihoods than lives were lost during the pandemic. But what if we could imagine a new day? A day when businesses are back in business, when employees return to work, customers are back happily, when kids go back to school. Imagine a day when you don't have to imagine that day. It's already here, introducing a revolutionary, first-of-its-kind life-saving technology with 99.9% efficacy in neutralizing the coronavirus. The Shicocan, invented by an Indian scientist, Dr. Raja Vijay Kumar, who holds over 30 patents globally. A simple plug-and-play wall-mounted device. The Shicocan emits photons that form an electron cloud in an indoor space. The negative charged electrons neutralize the positive charge of the coronavirus. thereby disabling it from infecting a person. No chemicals, no UV rays, no side effects, completely non-toxic, and 100% safe for humans and animals. It also disables other corona and influenza family of viruses that cause SARS, seasonal flus, and swine flu, among others. Each device covers an area of up to 1,000 square feet indoors and consumes just as much electricity monthly as a 30-watt light bulb. A one-time installation, no consumables like filters, solutions, etc., plus expert consultation to custom fit your requirements. A global service and support network, including 100 plus Indian cities with an unbeatable replacement warranty. The Shikocan will keep you safe. The Shikocan has been proven to be 99.9% effective against the coronavirus across multiple and the most stringent virology lab test reports. It has already been installed by several organizations like the Tatas, Tech Mahindra, Finicus, and Celem, besides the Indian Defence Forces, among others. Let's make your business safe for you, your employees, and your customers. Let's bring business back to business today. Log on to shikocancorp.com for inquiries.
So this is an interesting product which is developed by an Indian scientist. It could be useful, and I have no first-hand information or experience with the device. Just got a video from a message I received from some of my friends, and I just shared it. I think we can call it a day for today. I'll be ready to answer your questions at all possible from my side.
Okay, thank you, sir. That was indeed an interesting session, and I must say you have done justice to the topic as you were covering almost all the areas in the field. And being an academician, you rightly pointed out the benefits, effects, challenges that the COVID-19 caused to the academics. So moving on to the Q&A session.
Thank you.
So we had a discussion, a small discussion took part here, and in that Ravindranathan sir was telling in virtual mode classrooms for engineering how lab activities can be imparted to students. He's asking if isn't this a serious limitation?
Yeah, and in fact, it is a very serious situation. From my own experience, I can tell you that some of the labs under the computer science and engineering stream, and to some extent the electronics and communication engineering stream can be deployed virtually, so that the teacher or the instructor can control the discussions in the lab, practical experience which the student gains by using certain digital platforms. There were several simulation tools by which the students can test their algorithms or do some preliminary simulation studies. This is true only in the case of modern streams of engineering like computer science and engineering or electronics and communication. It is almost impossible for the conventional branches like mechanical engineering, civil engineering, or chemical engineering, where the actual labs environment is necessary to deploy the lab successfully. Another major issue with the problem of virtual classrooms and virtual discussions is that the evaluation of the student performance is a big issue to the instructor. Quite often the students will be physically present, or they are not even virtually present, in the sense that they will just switch on their camera or speaker and do some other thing. So this is a major issue. As I said, the attention span, limited attention span is also another issue, where after 20 or 30 minutes, all of them will be wandering rather than focusing on the discussions going on. But to some extent, people have devised techniques to combat this issue. There were certain survey tools, and there were multiple choice questions which can be posted over the internet and do the validation of this student performance. This is definitely is there and is used by university. In fact, I have attended one or two webinars on this particular aspects of conducting practical classes for engineering students, especially. And so some tools like Multisim, MATLAB, and similar tools for computer science students can be deployed even virtually. But all these have a limited usage and merits, or to say, only thing is that they can be administered anytime, so they can be shared with the participants anytime. And the students can also view their performance, can review and review their performance in the lab. So, but even now, it is not fully effective.
Okay, thank you, sir. And Ahmed sir was saying that lab activities are explained and carried out by lab assistant, and it's online video. The online video is shared to the students. So, yeah, let's make use of the available technologies and study as far as we can. So, yeah, we have another question from Surendran sir. Is virtual labs used in engineering colleges to teach lab experiments during pandemic? I hope that is answered now.
Yeah, that is not fully effective in the sense that there are some limitations to really understand what the student has learned and what he or she has not. So there is a major issue with all these virtual lab platforms and all that. But several companies have produced several tools and applications to meet the demand, huge demand. But as I said, the conventional branches like civil engineering, mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, or electrical engineering even, they find it quite difficult to conduct the lab virtually because the actual environment is necessary to have an effective discussion on the topics which are done and so on, right?
Okay, sir. Now, Srijit sir is asking this COVID to he's telling that if Shikokan can make everything normal to like before COVID, like this.
As I said earlier, I do not have any practical, hands-on experience on the device. It's only a claim, but it could be successful to some extent. They claim that they produce some negative charged particles in the atmosphere, and which are able to disinfect the positively charged coronavirus. So this underlying technique, it could be possible, but I'm not sure about the efficacy of the device. Patented product is available, and I have given the web link to their site, Shikokan site. Those who are interested can contact the manufacturer directly and get a report or try to buy it and use it. But no statistical data is available on the actual success of the product. What they say, 99.9% effective is a questionable claim, which has to be checked. In fact, there are two other videos. One is a TEDx talk by Rosalind Ego on the spread of the pandemic and modeling of the pandemic, which I have indicated in my presentation. Those who are interested can go through those TEDx presentations and get accustomed to the research related issues on the modeling of the pandemic and how to control the pandemic effectively.
Okay, that is great, sir. So now Professor V.N. Rajashekharan sir is thanking you for an effective snapshot presentation on the use of technologies for teaching and communication during the pandemic period. He's also raising a query that any systematic study or survey conducted anywhere about the efficacy of teaching, like a student satisfaction survey or anything is done. He's asking like that.
I have seen some surveys where the effectiveness of the, the virtual means of deploying the content to the students is done. Most of them says that we can approach level of satisfaction up to 40 to 60% maximum. But there are several products are coming up in the industry, especially in the academia domain, where such products are developed and improved every day. But again, this is a questionable claim because we find that as teachers, practical classes, handling of practical classes is quite a task and challenge. Unless there are very effective, face-to-face communication, the content which is delivered in the practical classes cannot be delivered. And even for projects, student projects, if it is a software project or a simulation modeling project, the students can develop some models and test it online at their homes and share the result with the guide or the supervisor. But in other cases, where there is a practical part is there in the experiment, these things fail miserably. But there were several studies done on the studies and surveys conducted on the effectiveness of imparting practical training through virtual labs called. So there are several products. In fact, there is a product called Virtual Lab, which was made popular by the ACT itself, wherein we can conduct labs, practical classes through virtual means. The students, and most of them are deployed in the cloud platform. So students need not have to download anything or do anything. They can just log into the site and use the software to develop new ideas and gain experience.
Okay, sir. Now moving on to the question raised by Suhail sir. He's asking what should be the optimum duration of online talks or classes considering the limited span of attention mentioned?
Yeah, normally all classes were having a duration in engineering colleges, a duration of 1 hour maximum. But in the case of virtual platforms, this is too much a load. So it is wise to split the 1 hour duration into 1 or 2 or even 3 slots, maybe each slot containing 20 or maximum 25 minutes of duration. And in between, they can do the kind of evaluation or close interaction with all the participants. That will make the classroom management more effective and fruitful. So, and at the end, or even during the delivery of the content, the teacher or the instructor can develop suitable survey modules or question answer sessions so that the comprehension of the student is closely watched and monitored and evaluated also. In fact, the evaluation is much more difficult than delivery of the content. When delivery is not free from all troubles, it is a cumbersome process, especially in the case of laboratory classes.
Okay, sir. So Varghese sir is asking, can we think of having lab in nearby colleges rather than attending it in on college? Means a student at Kasaragod belonging to CET can attend his lab at Kasaragod.
That is a good suggestion. In fact, the APJ Abdul Kalam Technological University, they provide a facility to change the center of the examination to the nearby college. This has been used by several students, even in the college which I was working. They used it, most of them. They could choose a different college than the college to which they have joined. So similarly, if we get a clear instruction on us to how to admit the students in nearby college for the conduct of practical sessions, it is somewhat possible and can be explored. I do not know whether any college under the APJ Abdul Kalam Technological University is right now practicing this, because there are other measures of how to meet the expenses and the logistics to be taken to successfully conduct such practical lab sessions. Because
Yeah.
but if the university gives a written direction to all the colleges to adopt this method of imparting practical classes offline, it can be done. That's what I feel.
Okay, sir. So now Dr. P.S. Chandramohan sir is congratulating you and thanking you for delivering lecture on a very interesting, useful and current topic.
Thank you, sir.
So yeah, sir. Moving on to R.P. Nair, sir. He's saying the conclusion that more than 20 to 30 minutes virtual class is not good is based on any practical experience, or is it an
Yes,
analysis?
several studies have been conducted on the effectiveness. And normally, in fact, the attention span is always reduced due to a lot of other, kind of interferences. Suppose the attendees listen to their mobile in between and so on. So the attention span is reducing, and it is a fact. This 15 to 20 minutes are, that slot is arrived at after conducting several experiments, practical experiments, psychological experiments. So after 20 to 30 minutes, people try to wander off unless it is made more interesting by some other means, like presenting videos, listening to music, or doing some actual activity which can be mentored by the instructor. Even virtually, that can be done to some extent.
Okay, sir. Sir, Venkatesan sir is commenting the statistics on online platforms was most interesting and revealing. Thank you, sir, for your wonderful talk.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. So I guess we don't have any more queries. And the one person was asking your contact details so that he can contact you later.
I can share it through the chat window. I will split it out. It is INDRAN, Indran @5EEE.org. Maybe I'll share it through the chat window to all. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir, we hope we don't have any further queries. I hope we can move to the word of thanks section. Thank you so much, sir. And this was indeed a great session that I've been attending from all these 58 talks. So moving on to Professor Nandan S., Chair of Young Professionals, IEEE Kerala section, and Assistant Professor at LBS Institute of Technology to deliver the word of thanks. So please.
There's a question.
Good evening.
There's a question in the chat box.
Go ahead, bring this up. Go ahead.
I was asking, anyway, the online model of teaching is going to be there in the future, with or without Corona. It's going to be for the future. So we had to come up with a way of supplementing what we are not getting through the present model. Basically in the transmission of ethics and also the social interaction aspect. Because people are going to prefer this online model in the future because of the various advantages you have already mentioned, with or without COVID. So we are here to come up with a way, some smart ways of compensating for some of the deficiencies. Shall we have some thoughts on that? Another thing is that VAU is to be pronounced Vayu. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you are right, sir. In fact, one of the major advantages of delivering the content online is that we can repeatedly send the content across all the participants at a later time. So likewise, you can also share supplementary materials, course notes, or actual video lectures, or even NPTEL lectures after the actual classroom interaction, the virtual classroom interaction. So by means of suitably and judiciously selecting the content, the interest of the students can be retained, and their studies can be monitored at a closer level if the instructor takes real interest and administer suitable content to all the participants later on. So, but even now, see now the classes even for kindergarten students up to postgraduate level, they're conducted almost virtually for the past 1 year or so at least. But there are issues which all of us know very well. One is the limited attention span, and second one is the limited means to measure the comprehension of the students, how far they have picked up and all that. And conduct of exams virtually is a big issue. In fact, the MG University Vice Chancellor, Dr. Sabu Thomas, has proposed to the government to conduct all evaluation, the end of semester examinations virtually. And I think with the present situation going on for quite some more time, the government will approve and take initiative to establish such situation. In fact, the KTU did 8 semester evaluation of the last batch, 2020 batch, fully online. There were several issues like the students cheating and all that. But even then, the exams were conducted across the state and results were announced in a reasonable time. It's a challenging area to develop new tools and means to do the delivery of content virtually and as well as to monitor the student performance effectively. And second thing is the social aspect, because there is no physical contact, actual communication between the teacher and the students. All these have limited applicability and efficacy. So we have to find some other means to effective the student-teacher communication and to make it more effective.
Gina,
Okay.
you may take over. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now I call upon Nandan, sir, for delivering the vote of thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay. Good evening to all. So happy that we have concluded the 58th talk of the Inter-Society weekly webinar series. And today's session on the impact of the pandemic on professional activities, a peak by an academician by none other than one of the most experienced academicians in the state of Kerala, Dr. K.C. Ravindranathan sir, who is a mentor for me personally. So his session was really interesting, informative, and thought-provoking. So let me come to my duty, which is to deliver the vote of thanks. In today's session, Dr. K.C. Ravindranathan sir shared a lot of information regarding the effect of this pandemic on professional activities, on the professional community, basically into the academia. He also mentioned, many news regarding the research updates about the details of COVID-19 simulation and modeling happening here in our nation right now. Sir also explained the statistics of various virtual platforms, as well as the impact of these sessions and all. He also very well explained the issues with these online teaching learning process and all, and how effectively we can manage that, those kind of things. And he also explained, the merits and demerits of these virtual platforms, as well as updates, a lot of updates regarding the development of new research, as well as technologies, happening, or a kind of improvements in technology happening in our national organizations and institutions like IITs and DRDO, so on and so forth. So it was really, informative and interesting session. And on behalf of all the partnering organizations, and on my personal behalf, on behalf of all the participants here, I would like to express a very sincere thanks to Professor Dr. K.C. Ravindranathan sir for spending your valuable time and your efforts to share, for wisdom sharing with us, for sharing a lot of information with us, and for patiently answering all the questions of the participants. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
I also thank and appreciate the efforts of Harindral sir, who is the backbone of this weekly webinar series, for his efforts constantly. This is a 58th week we are organizing this. Thank you, Harindral sir. I also thank the office bearers of all the partnering organizations, and most of them are here, so here, sir, and all, for your constant support in organizing in this weekly webinar series. Also thank Dr. MJ Jayashree for introducing the speaker. Special thanks to Aishwarya, then Adla, Ajina, Google, and the tech team behind organizing this session. And last but not the least, I would like to thank all the participants for your constant support, for patiently listening to this wonderful session. Thank you so much once again to all of you, and stay safe and healthy. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Nandan. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir.
I especially thank Harindral sir and his team for the excellent conduct of the event. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. As we have come to the end of today's session successfully, I would like to announce the next talk on our series of talks. And next Wednesday, the 26th of May from 6 to 7 p.m., we'll be having a 59th talk of InterSociety weekly webinar series on Green Business, Bring Your Own Container by Mr. Bittu John, an MTech graduate who opened his grocery store called 7 to 9 Green Store with a motive to reduce plastic waste, which is a need of the hour. I request all our dearest attendees to kindly take a note and register for the session. So here is a goodbye from our 58th talk, and hope to see you all on next Wednesday. The team, thank you from the bottom heart for joining with us, and the meeting is officially closed.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Good night. Stay safe, sir.
രവീന്ദ്ര സാർ വളരെ നന്നായിരുന്നു കേട്ടോ.
No, thank you, sir.
കുറെ നാളായി കണ്ടിട്ട്.
Yeah, we have interacted for quite some time.
We have a lot of attendees regularly attending the program.
Yeah.
I want to thank all of them for their constant support and encouragement, and look forward to it in the future programs also. Google, you can close it.
Yes, sir.